Hey, were you born between 1965 and 1980 like me? Well, if you were, then listen up. And maybe you're afraid that you won't have enough money to retire with. Or maybe you don't want to work for the next 15 or 20 years, right? And you would rather retire earlier. And if you're feeling like that right now, then you're not alone. I'm going to show you in this video how you can permanently retire on passive income that doesn't come from your 401k or certainly not your Social Security check, but also it doesn't come from saving yourself to retirement or the stock market. Let's do this. Hi, I'm Michael Blanc, and I help people become financially free with real estate. All right, so maybe you're starting to worry a little bit about retirement, right? And the biggest fear in retirement is that you are going to run out of money. Or maybe you've got another 10 or 20 years ahead of you and you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this another 10 or 20 years, and you would certainly like to retire earlier. Maybe you're concerned about repaying student loans. A lot of us still have student loans as well, or maybe taking care of your aging parents. You know, if you look at what's in the media right now, and there's just interviews with Gen Xers, the biggest fear they have is that they're feeling very bleak about their chances of retiring. Not only just retiring early, but also then running out of money when they do retire. And it's because Social Security number is no longer reliable. You can't really save yourself to retirement. And then there's inflation. And so these things really are stressing out Gen Xers, and maybe you're feeling some of that as well. Now, if you look at some of the stats, just over half of Gen X have little to nothing saved for retirement. So 35% of 65 million US Gen Xers have less than $10,000 saved, and 18% have zero savings. So how are you going to retire, right? And how are you going to make sure you won't run out of money in retirement? To me, I was similarly frustrated. I had a software developing background as well. And I had, when I was in my late 30s, I was starting to think ahead. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to work like this for another 20 years. And how do I maybe retire earlier? But then once I do retire, how do I make sure that I don't run out of money as well? And so I felt like I needed to start investing in real estate. Like, you may have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad at one point. You're like, my gosh, maybe I need to, do some real estate. Okay. But single family housing really work either, right? Because it's a little bit tedious to get into. Maybe you have a rental, and then you figure out, well, making $100, $200 per month isn't really going to scale. It's not going to help me retire, right? And then if I have a tenant move out and the place is empty for 2 months, I lose my income from that. Or if I have a major repair, I lose the profit for the entire year. And so when I discovered this one thing that I'm about to tell you, it kind of secured my permanent retirement. And so this allowed me to really live my dream life now, not 20 years from now. The solution I'm about to share with you has nothing to do with investing in a stock market, because it won't really work. There's something called the FIRE method, right? Where it really talks about really saving 50 to 70% of your income. And then that allows you to retire early, but then you have to live like a poor person so you don't deplete your principal. Your financial advisor may have told you about the 4% rule, where you can live off 4% of your savings or your brokerage account. Well, if you want $80,000 per year, you'd have to have $2 million saved up, right? But do you have that? Are you on track for doing that? And this is really, the stats don't support that the average American has $2 million so they can retire. And so none of these solutions really work. And here's what will. The solution in general is really alternative investments, okay? It's not the traditional investment that your neighbors do, or your coworkers, or even your financial advisor talks about. It's nothing to do with the stock market. And, alternative investments are really, for example, like real estate, turnkey rentals, self-storage, precious metals, oil and gas. Those are really like the alternatives that I'm talking about. Out of those, my favorite really is multifamily investing, because it provides passive, reliable income, more so than any other real estate class. And it has really amazing tax benefits. It has tax benefits that, where if I play my cards right, I can defer taxes for a very, very long time. I can scale it, right? It's much easier to scale as well. And as a result, because of that, if I continue investing in apartments, for example, I ultimately get time freedom. And we've talked hundreds of people to kind of get started with investing in apartment buildings. And what's really encouraging is that most people are able to quit their job within 1 to 2 years. Not 1 to 2 decades, but 1 to 2 years. What if 4 videos could give you everything you need to build $10,000 a month in passive income in as little as 180 days? I've proven it many times over, and so have hundreds of other people just like you. And one of the best ways we discovered to reach financial freedom is by investing in apartments. Now, I know that sounds like super advanced, but the truth is you can get started today. You don't need years of investing experience. You don't have to have millions of dollars in the bank. So register for the free Masterclass Apartments 101 today and take that first step to really discover how you can build true wealth for yourself and your family. Let's do this. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're thinking this right now, hey, what can I do? What kind of investments can I do? What kind of side gig can I do? What kind of entrepreneurial thing can I do? And the answer is yes, it is real estate for sure. You're right about that. And certainly Robert Kiyosaki in his book was right about that. But he's really silent on the exact mechanism, the exact kind of real estate investing that actually gets you to the goal. And it's not single family house investing, right? It's not flipping houses, because if I'm not buying, fixing, and selling houses, I'm not making money. That's not passive. Now you could build a portfolio, a rental portfolio like I try to do, but how many houses would you need in that rental portfolio? And how long would it take you to get to that rental portfolio? And how much effort would it be to manage this gigantic portfolio, right? So if you're making $100 per month in a rental, for example, you'd need, 50 of them. No, let's say 200. Let's be generous, 200. You need 50 of them to make $10,000 a month. That's a huge portfolio. And so real estate is correct, but it's not single family houses. I've experimented with this myself, and I can tell you from my own experience, you're not going to be able to scale it. And the only way that you can scale is apartment buildings. And the cool thing about apartment buildings is, this is what people really don't know, is people think it's an advanced strategy. And they want to say, hey, why don't I build up a portfolio of single family houses, and then I will essentially graduate to apartments, and I'll take the money I make and I'll invest in apartments. But none of that has to be true. It's not a bad plan. That plan might take you 5 or 10 years. 10 years of single family houses, probably longer. Most never get there. They realize 5 years into their plan that they can't scale it. They scratch ahead and they discover apartment buildings. The cool thing about apartment buildings is that even if you start small, you actually can learn to raise money and invest it in those apartment buildings. I have lots of videos here on the YouTube channel and the blog that talks about raising capital. And once you realize this, then your ability to scale is no longer limited by your limited resources. It's about raising capital. And the other thing is, you don't need 5 years of investing experience either. Within 30 days, with a little bit of training that you can see on this YouTube channel or our book on Amazon, you can actually sound like an experienced investor, because you will have built a team around you as well. So I just want to encourage you to keep an open mind about how you're going to get to retirement, and really open your mind to investing in apartments. So in fact, I created a course just for you. It's called Apartments 101. It's your introduction to apartment buildings and raising capital. So I want you to go check that out. It's basically 3-4 modules of videos that simply walks you through the basic of apartment investing, about raising capital, and everything you need to kind of get started. So there's a link down here below this video. Find that link and get started. It's free. And if you want to change your life with this kind of, because it did for me, and really focus on the one real estate strategy that will get you financially free, and that's apartments. Catch you next time.